Hey Bears fans, we're back with an exclusive video and the latest updates on our beloved Chicago Bears. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. That way, you'll always stay up to date with breaking news and exclusive content. The cameras caught it before the locker room doors even closed, and that is where this story really starts. Because Odunze walking into the facility with a visible bruise on his face was not just another random image for fans to dissect. In the world of the Chicago Bears, every look, every gesture, every shadow under the eye becomes fuel for speculation, and this time the fire spread fast. People close to the team whispered that the tension had been building for weeks, that practices had felt heavier, louder, more aggressive. When Odunze appeared with that hematoma, the murmurs turned into a roar. Some said he tried to hide it at first, pulling his hood low, forcing a smile, but the damage was already visible, and the narrative began to write itself. In a league where toughness is celebrated, showing up marked like that sends a message, intentional or not. Teammates reportedly exchanged looks, coaches tightened their jaws, and suddenly the atmosphere felt charged. The phrase that echoed in the hallways, according to rumors, was sharp and emotional, with Odunze allegedly calling someone a coward. That single word, heavy and explosive, seemed to summarize a clash that had gone far beyond a simple disagreement over routes or reps, and it opened the door to a crisis nobody outside the building was supposed to see. What makes this situation feel even more dramatic is the profile of Odunze himself. A young wide receiver who arrived in the league, carrying the weight of expectations and the calm confidence of someone who had already proven himself at the highest collegiate level. Those who followed his journey knew him as disciplined, focused, and rarely drawn in a public drama, which is why this moment shocked so many insiders. Rumors suggest that the confrontation did not start with punches or shouting, but with subtle disrespect, missed accountability, and words said under the breath during intense moments. Practices can be brutal environments, and egos often collide, especially in a locker room trying to define its identity. According to whispers, another Bears player challenged Odunze in a way that crossed an unspoken line, questioning effort and commitment in front of others. That kind of accusation can cut deeper than any physical hit. When tempers flared, the situation allegedly escalated quickly, and what followed left a visible mark. The bruise became a symbol, not just of a physical altercation, but of a deeper fracture within the team, raising questions about leadership, respect, and whether the Bears were truly united or quietly divided beneath the surface. As the story spread among fans and commentators, the word coward kept resurfacing, not as a headline quote, but as a whispered accusation that added fuel to the fire. The idea that Odunze would use such a strong term suggests that, in his perspective, whatever happened violated the code of respect players live by. Rumor has it that he felt blindsided, not expecting things to turn physical or personal in that moment. In football culture, confrontation is normal, even encouraged, but there is a line between intensity and betrayal. Those close to Odunze suggest he believed that line was crossed, and that the other player acted when Odunze was not prepared to defend himself. Whether that is true or not remains unclear, but perception often matters more than facts in these situations. The locker room, already under pressure, reportedly split into quiet sides, with some players sympathizing with Odunze and others defending the unnamed teammate. Coaches, according to speculation, attempted to cool things down, urging everyone to keep internal matters internal. Still, the damage was done, and the bruise on Odunze's face became a visual reminder that something had gone wrong behind closed doors. The Bears organization is no stranger to adversity, but internal conflict can be far more dangerous than any opponent. Rumors suggest that team leaders called for private meetings, attempting to address the tension before it spiraled further. Odunze, described as emotional yet composed, allegedly spoke his truth, making it clear that he would not tolerate disrespect, especially from someone wearing the same colors. The phrase he used reportedly echoed with frustration and disappointment, implying that the confrontation lacked honor. For a young player still carving his place in the league, standing up like that can be both risky and empowering. Some insiders believe this moment could define his role in the locker room, either elevating him as a voice of accountability or isolating him if the room does not rally behind him. Meanwhile, the other player involved has remained silent, at least publicly, which only deepens the mystery. Silence can be interpreted in many ways, and in this case, it has allowed speculation to run wild, with fans creating their own versions of what truly happened. From a broader perspective, this situation highlights how fragile team chemistry can be, especially during periods of transition and high expectations. The Bears are a franchise constantly under the microscope, and any hint of internal chaos quickly becomes amplified. Rumors claim that this incident forced coaches to reevaluate how conflict is managed within the team, emphasizing communication and respect. Yet, some believe that no amount of mediation can fully erase what happened. Trust, once shaken, takes time to rebuild, and the image of Odunze with that bruise may linger longer than anyone wants. For him, this could become a motivating force, a chip on his shoulder that fuels his drive. For the team, it is a warning sign, a reminder that unity cannot be assumed. Every practice rep, every meeting, now carries the weight of unspoken questions about loyalty and character. As the narrative continues to unfold, fans are left wondering whether this was an isolated incident or a symptom of a deeper issue within the Bears. Rumors thrive in the absence of clarity, and until those involved speak openly, speculation will dominate the conversation. Odunze's reaction, his alleged choice of words, and a visible mark on his face have combined into a story that feels larger than a simple locker room scuffle. It feels like a moment where lines were drawn, where respect was challenged, and where the true character of those involved may eventually be revealed. For now, all anyone can do is watch closely, read between the lines, and wait to see whether this crisis becomes a turning point or a crack that continues to widen within the team. When you step back and listen to the tone of people around the Bears, it becomes clear that this rumor has touched a nerve far deeper than a single confrontation. There is a sense that Rome Odunze arriving with a bruised face forced everyone to confront uncomfortable truths about competitiveness, masculinity, and respect in professional football. According to speculation, some veterans privately questioned whether things had gone too far, while younger players reportedly saw it as an example of how quickly situations can spiral when emotions are unchecked. Odunze, who had built a reputation as a hard worker and quiet leader, suddenly found himself at the center of a storm he never sought. The alleged accusation of cowardice was not just an insult, but a challenge to the moral code of the locker room. In a sport where courage is measured in pain tolerance and sacrifice, that word carries immense weight. Rumors suggest that the coaching staff emphasized unity in meetings that followed, reminding players that external pressure is already intense enough without internal battles. Still, the sense of unease lingered, and the bruise became a talking point that refused to fade. Speculation also points to the idea that this incident may have been the result of accumulated frustration rather than a single spark. Practices are long, physical, and mentally draining, and when expectations are high, patience can wear thin. Some whispers suggest that Odunze had been pushing himself and others relentlessly, demanding excellence in every drill. While that drive can inspire, it can also irritate teammates who feel exposed or challenged. The other player involved, according to rumor, may have taken that pressure personally, interpreting it as criticism rather than motivation. When communication breaks down, assumptions fill the gaps, and conflict becomes almost inevitable. The alleged altercation, then, was not about one moment, but about weeks of unspoken tension finally erupting. The aftermath forced everyone to pick a side, even if only emotionally, and that division is what worries those who care about the team's future. From a fan's perspective, this kind of story is both fascinating and unsettling. It humanizes players who are often seen as invincible, reminding everyone that they are navigating complex relationships under constant scrutiny. Odunze's visible injuries sparked debates about toughness, accountability, and whether the league's culture sometimes encourages aggression without providing enough tools to manage it. Rumors claim that some teammates rallied around him, offering quiet support and reassurance, while others urged him to let it go for the sake of the team. That tension between standing up for oneself and maintaining harmony is a delicate balance, especially for a young player still establishing his voice. The way Odunze handles the aftermath could influence how he is perceived for years, shaping narratives about his leadership and resilience. The silence from the organization has only added layers to the speculation. Without official statements, every glance and body language moment becomes evidence in the court of public opinion. Observers analyze who stands next to who jokes, who remains distant. Rumors suggest that internal discipline was discussed, not necessarily in terms of punishment, but in redefining boundaries. Coaches reportedly stressed that passion must be controlled, that physicality should be reserved for the field, not teammates. Whether those messages resonate remains to be seen. For Odunze, the experience may serve as a harsh lesson about the realities of professional sports, where even teammates can become adversaries if communication fails. There is also a narrative forming that this incident could ultimately strengthen the Bears if handled correctly. Some believe that confronting conflict head-on, rather than burying it, can lead to greater honesty and trust. If Odunze and the other player involved find a way to clear the air, the locker room might emerge more unified, having faced its flaws openly. Yet, that outcome is far from guaranteed. Rumors persist that the emotional scars run deeper than the physical bruise, and that resentment may still simmer beneath polite interactions. The word coward, once spoken, cannot be unheard, and rebuilding respect after such an accusation requires humility and effort from all sides. As the weeks move forward, this story will likely evolve, shaped by performances, reactions, and the subtle dynamics only insiders truly understand. For now, it stands as a reminder that behind every helmet and highlight, there are complex human stories unfolding. Rome Odunze's bruised face became a symbol, not just of a rumored fight, but of the fragile balance between competition and camaraderie. Whether this moment becomes a footnote or a defining chapter in the Bears' journey depends on choices made away from cameras, in conversations that may never be public. Until then, fans and commentators will continue to speculate, analyze, and debate, drawn in by a rumor that feels as raw and intense as the sport itself. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. As the rumor continues to circulate, another layer begins to emerge, one that speaks less about the physical mark on Rome Odunze's face and more about the psychological impact left behind. According to quiet speculation, the days following the incident felt unusually tense, with conversations stopping abruptly when certain players entered the room and laughter sounding forced rather than natural. Odunze was reportedly focused, almost colder than usual, channeling his emotions inward instead of outward. Some believe that this internalization is far more dangerous than open anger, because it can slowly reshape how a player views his environment. Trust, once shaken, can turn into constant vigilance, and vigilance can become isolation. Rumors suggest that Odunze began spending more time alone after practice, headphones on, eyes forward, limiting unnecessary interaction. To some teammates, that looked like professionalism. To others, it felt like distance. In a locker room, perception often becomes reality. The idea that a young star might feel he has to protect himself from his own teammates is unsettling, and it adds weight to the belief that the situation was never fully resolved, only temporarily quieted. There's also growing chatter that veterans within the Bears organization see this episode as a crossroads moment, not just for Odunze, but for the culture being built. Longtime observers whisper that similar conflicts in the past either forged stronger bonds or quietly fractured teams beyond repair. The difference, they say, lies in accountability. If players feel consequences are uneven or conversations are superficial, resentment festers. Rumors hint that some leaders urge transparency, encouraging both sides to speak openly, even if it meant uncomfortable truths. Others allegedly prefer to move on quickly, fearing distraction. That divide in approach mirrors the larger uncertainty surrounding the team. Odunze's alleged words, sharp and emotional, continue to echo because they challenged not just one player, but an entire standard of behavior. Calling someone a coward in that setting is not about winning an argument. It is about drawing a moral boundary. Whether the locker room accepts or rejects that boundary could define relationships for the rest of the season and beyond. From the outside, fans are left piecing together fragments, trying to read meaning into every snap, every celebration, every lack of one. Speculation has turned Odunze into a symbol of confrontation, even though he never sought that role. Some believe he will respond by elevating his performance, letting actions speak louder than rumors. Others worry that carrying unresolved conflict can drain energy, no matter how talented the player. The Bears, as a collective, now move forward under a cloud of questions that may never be publicly answered. Yet, this is often how the most compelling football stories are written, not in press conferences, but in quiet moments of choice. How Odunze carries himself, how teammates respond, and how leadership enforces values will slowly reveal the truth behind the speculation. Until then, this remains a story fueled by whispers, emotion, and the undeniable image of a young player walking in marked, forcing everyone to confront what loyalty and courage truly mean inside a team. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.